Hi, third graders. Today is Wednesday, April 29th, and today in math, we're talking about measurement. And we're going to talk about how to measure length, how long something is. All right, so we have a few different ways that we can measure something. So usually we take a ruler in order to measure something, but sometimes you don't have a ruler, so you have to estimate something's length. So that is what we are going to do today. So I'm going to show you a little presentation, and you are going to see how we can measure some length. All right, so like I said, we are talking about length. The first unit that we measure length in is inches. So 1 inch is about the tip of your thumb to that very first knuckle there, that distance right there. That is about 1 inch. That's the smallest unit that we'll be talking about in third grade. So you might measure something like this in inches because it's pretty small. All right, next thing we have is a foot. We measure things that are a little bit longer than feet. So 1 foot is 12 inches. So you can see on this ruler, it starts at 0 and there's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and goes on to 12 inches. So 1 foot equals 12 inches. So I would say about the length of this whiteboard would be 12 inches. So we usually measure our height in feet, okay? Because if I measure my whole height in inches, it'd be a pretty high number. So we measure our height in feet or the distance from one end of the room to another in feet. Because if we measured it in inches, it would be way too many inches. So we measure something a little bit longer in feet. And then the longest one we have for third grade is yards. A yard is 3 feet long. So imagine 3 rulers lined up together. That gives you a yardstick. So it's a much longer type of ruler, okay? So I would say a yard is about the length of this poster paper. You can see it's much longer than the length of this whiteboard, and also much longer than the length of something we would measure in inches, like this pencil. So let's answer this question. What is an object you would measure using inches? So you want to measure something small in inches, like my phone, or a pen, or a pencil. That's something you would measure using inches. All right. What object would you measure using feet? My example was how tall you are. Okay, because that's much bigger than a pencil. So you want to do feet when it's something a lot longer. And then a distance you would measure using yards. That's something that's even bigger than feet. So that's something much longer. So I would say an example of that would be the length of a football field. That's even longer. All right, so those are some examples of things you would measure using inches, which is the smaller one. Feet, remember, that's bigger, that's 12 inches. And then yards, which is 3 feet long. So let's estimate, because I'm going to show you some examples, and then you are going to have to do some on your own. So make sure that you are paying attention, because you're going to be doing some of this on your own. So an item, a pencil, estimated length. Well, I know a pencil is small, it's about this long, it's about as long as my pen. So I know I'm going to use inches. And I would say, since this is about 1 inch, I would say it's about 6 inches. Okay? Length of a classroom. I know that's a lot bigger than the length of a pencil, so I'm not going to use inches for that. I'm going to use feet. So I would say the length of a classroom would be about 30 feet. If you think about the length from one end of our classroom to the other, it would be about 30 feet. All right, like 30 rulers. And then the length of the school. Well, that's a lot longer than the length of just one classroom. So I'm going to measure that using yards. So I would say that would be about 100 yards. Thinking about a yardstick, which is 3 feet long, if I were to measure that all along the classroom, that's how I would estimate it. So I was given an item and I estimated its length either using inches, feet, or yards. So you have to think about it. What would be the most appropriate way to measure it? If it's something small, it's inches. If it's something more medium size, it's a classroom or it's feet. And if it's something way, way longer, then you would use yards. All right, let's estimate now. Now I'm giving the length of an object, and I need to think of an item that would be about that long. Okay, something that is 10 inches long. Well, we said that this whiteboard is about 1 foot. That's 12 inches. So I would say something 10 inches might be a poster paper or poster board. Think about the posters we have in our classrooms. They're a little bit longer. All right, 5 feet. All right, that is about the height of me. So I'm going to say the height of Miss Rubin. And then something that is 10 yards long. So thinking about 10 yards. Remember, 1 yard is 3 feet. So 10 yards would be about 30 feet. So I would say the distance between Miss Rubin's classroom and the playground outside of school. I would say if we walked outside and walked to the playground, it would be about 10 yards away. So now it is going to be your turn to do some estimations just like I did. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the slides and you are going to click on the practice problems. And there's this chart here to help remind you about how long in inches, how long a foot is, and how long a yard is. And it gives you examples of each, like an inch, the length of a small paper clip, or the width of a quarter. A foot, 12 inches put together, the length of a clipboard or the length of a ruler. And then yard, that's 3 feet put together, which is like the height of a kindergartner. We know they're smaller than you guys, or the width of a door. So over here in the first chart, you're given an item and you have to estimate the length. And you have to think about, should it be in inches, feet, or yards, depending on how long the item is. And then down here, you're given the length. See, we have 1/2 inch, 6 inches, 6 yards. And you have to think of an item that maybe could be that length. Okay? So that is what you are doing individually. When you are done, you can check your answers. And I've also included a second video. It's a BrainPop video that talks about length. So if you still need help, watch that, because I know this can be a little bit tricky. Try your best. Use all the resources that you have to help you. And don't forget to finish all your work and to do the memory jogger next.